Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to talk about Legends of Vox Machina, Season 2, Episode 10, where Grog, spoilers for all of Legends of Vox Machina Amazon Prime series here. So we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 10, where Grog specifically defeats the Thunder Lord of the herd of storms, right? So the herd of storms is the clan that Grog belongs to. As a barbarian, he did belong to them long ago. He broke with them when the Thunder Lord of the herd of storms beat the living gargle out of him. and left it, and quite literally left him for dead. And then Pike Trickfoot's grandfather healed him, right? And then Grog became an adventurer, and he joined Pike in Vox Machina, right? And what I want to talk about today is what are you trying to say in your Dungeons and Dragons story, and how are you saying it, right? And how Dungeons and Dragons is truly a platform that is unequaled by any tabletop role-playing game in the world. And the reason why is fundamentally, and I think we've reached this point where it's very easy to say, Dungeons and Dragons it's not a tabletop role-playing game, it's a tabletop role-playing experience. And when you come to it, you're encountering 5 decades of history. You're encountering an element of Americana. You're encountering a life brand. You're encountering something that has been unequaled in the tabletop, unequaled in totem, right? Every tabletop role-playing game combined has not equaled what Dungeons and Dragons has accomplished. And that's the issue. This is where we are now, right? Post the second extinction level event for Dungeons and Dragons, 1983 Satanic Panic, 2023 Manic Panic, right? We can no longer pretend that we are playing a game. We have an experience, and the rest of the world plays games, right? Because nobody's coming to destroy OSE. Nobody's coming to destroy DCC, right? Nobody's coming to destroy Worlds Beyond Numbers. Nobody's coming to destroy Pathfinder, because nobody cares enough to see them as a threat to anything, because they're not a threat to anything. They are hollow husk copies of a real thing, and they can never accomplish anything. They can never mean anything, right? But Dungeons and Dragons is fundamentally different, right? And even adjacent product, and Dungeons and Dragons stories echo these massive, meaningful things. And so when we are telling a story with Dungeons and Dragons, right, and not with OSE, and not with Pathfinder, and not with Worlds Beyond Numbers, and not with DCC, these meaningless husks that can do nothing, accomplish nothing, change no one, right? But we're dealing with Dungeons and Dragons, which can change everything. It can literally change the path of humanity going forward. That's the difference, okay? And I want to get you there. So let's look at Vox Machina, Season 2, Episode 3. Season 2, Episode 10. Grog defeats the Thunder Lord of the Herd of Storms, right? He literally cuts his arm clean off, and then cuts him clean in half after Vex throws him into the air and allows him to make an 80-foot drop to cut the Thunder Lord of the Herd Storm in half. Pretty incredible, right? And I should say the dishonorable Thunder Lord, because a new Thunder Lord is put in place after that. So basically, this entire story, an incredible story, okay, with an incredible battle, is saying something. So Critical Role is saying something. What are they saying? So Grog keeps asking himself this. He says, he's asked this by another barbarian, and he says, "Where does your strength come from?" And Grog, he's not the smartest, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. At first, he thinks, "Oh, my weapons, right, and my literal muscles, right," and then he learns, no, that's not the case, right? And then he's thinking, "My rage," right, and he's like, "No, that's not the case, right?" And then finally, he realizes his strength comes from his friends. His strength, literally and figuratively, comes from his friends. All right. Now, first of all, this is an incredible statement. This is Critical Role saying our strength, our strength as people come from our friends. Are they right? Absolutely not. It is 100% incorrect. Friends are not the most important things in our lives. Family is more important in our lives. And friends are ephemeral objects that come and go. They don't last for life. I can tell you that right now. Right? And if you think for 1 second that I'm wrong, I got 2 words for you. Orion Okaba. He was Matthew Mercer's friend. So Matthew Mercer's idea that friends are forever is literally ludicrous and laughable within his own history, right? So what he says with Dungeons & Dragons is flat out wrong, okay? However, it is a deep statement, and it's something he wants to believe that is not true, right? Now, the reality is, I don't laugh at him for failing here. He failed in his message, right? Friends are not where our strength comes from. Our strength comes from somewhere else. I'm not even going to answer in this video where our strength comes from. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's absolutely not our friends. Matthew Mercer got that wrong. Done. End of sentence. How did he say it, right? How did Critical Role, specifically headed by Matthew Mercer, say this with Dungeons & Dragons? In the most powerful way that has ever been accomplished with Dungeons & Dragons. What you are looking at, Legends of Vox Machina Season 2, this came through literally 1,000 hours plus of content that there's 117 episodes of Vox Machina. They're each about 4 hours long, and it's hundreds of hours of tabletop role playing game, and then millions of dollars set to visualizing their story. And what you're seeing here is the most powerful delivery of a Dungeons & Dragons story that has ever been accomplished without exception. So Matthew Mercer was wrong in what he said, but how he said it is the new standard. It is the new bar, right? It is the bar that everyone else must meet with all Dungeons & Dragons stories, and it is the bar that every tabletop role-playing game is going to try to meet and will never meet, because they can't do anything meaningful with the hollow husk junk that they're creating with, because they're copies, right? You're never going to impress with counterfeit Nikes, right? It's not going to happen, right? That's the issue, right? So the reality is, he was wrong in what he said. How he said it was better than any Dungeons & Dragons story has ever been told. Legends of Vox Machina Season 2 is not just the best Dungeons & Dragons story of 2023. It is the best Dungeons & Dragons story of all time. Every word of that is my opinion. What's important is my humble opinion. What is important was when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments. Send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.